Greetings, opera lovers. Live from Pittsburgh, it's Rona. I was so lucky that today, August 17th, I was able to catch the last of the days that you could watch Glyndebourne's production of La Traviata. I had already read the reviews. I knew a little bit about what the critics thought, but I was not expecting to be as astounded as I was. First of all, everybody knows La Traviata. There is no point in going over the story or even its history. However, before I get to today's soprano, before I sat down here, I tried to think of, all the great sopranos that had done Violetta in La Traviata. And I made a little list of about 10 names. But then I looked up some archives and the Met, and it's a huge list of sopranos who have taken on this role. It is truly a touchstone role for any soprano who sings this repertoire. I have heard this opera live minimum of a dozen times with lesser known artists such as Patricia Brooks, who was terrific, to beautiful singers who I adored like Eliana Kotrubash, Joan Sutherland. On recordings, I've heard so many. Claudia Muzio, I've heard her recordings, and it's just fabulous. And one of the greatest Violettas of the past passed away this week. At somewhere between 101 and 104, Licia Albanese left us. She was one of a kind. I don't think she had a really beautiful voice, but she sure did those roles great. Today we have a new name. She for sure will go down as at least having a great start to hopefully a long career. I don't know how to pronounce it. Of course she's Russian. It's something like Venera Gimadieva. I'm sorry if that's far off the mark. It's the best I can do. She's very young, apparently. She sings at the Bolshoi. I have no idea who found her and had the idea to cast her at Glyndebourne, but whoever it was deserves a lot of credit. I've never seen her name before. I'm sure there are my friends who watch everything coming up about opera who have seen her name, but it just was a complete surprise to me. She has everything that a leading lady needs, starting with a beautiful voice. As soon as I heard her open her mouth, the timbre is so gorgeous. It's very rich. It's kind of got a tight vibrato. It reminded me a little bit in between the sound of Eliana Kotrubash and Renata Scotto, believe it or not. But she didn't sound really much like either of them, but there were hints of that. And then as she has to portray the role of Violetta, her acting skills were tremendous. And she has the coloratura to go along with everything that's needed to fully flesh out this role. I know it's not a written note, but honestly, when you hear her big aria, Sempre Libera, at the end, you want to hear that E-flat. Of course, if you don't have the E-flat, you can't sing it. But it's just something that we've gotten used to, and when a soprano does not sing it, it can be disappointing. Well, she did it. She's very young. She has it. It was tremendous. It's Violetta's opera from beginning to end. From the moment she comes on stage, and they had her costumed beautifully, to her, and where she gets to sing the Brindisi, and then her big aria, Act 2 where she has her duets, and Act 3 where she dies. She was just the star of the night. I hope that her career fulfills the promise of this first time that I've heard her. But of course there are other singers in this cast too. And one of the American tenors who is on the rise, his name is Michael Fabiano. If you're already watching my reviews, you probably know who he is. Although he's very young, I believe he just turned 30, he's making a mark internationally. And today he sang the role of Alfredo, which I call sort of a transitional role. That's just my term for the kind of tenor role it is, because he doesn't get to sing all that much, but he's very central to the opera. He has one aria. He sings in several duets. Michael Fabiano has a beautiful voice and a very steady technique. I thought he was wonderful. It was terrific to see two young people playing two young people. It's a treat. Something I can say about Mr. Fabiano, although he was absolutely terrific today, I think he has a chance to be one of the great tenors of the future. No one starts out on top. People can start off very well, but you have to grow. And I am looking forward to watching him and hearing him grow on the opera stage, because I think we have a real first-rate tenor in him. He's got everything that you need to have that kind of career. Well, after the two, the soprano and the tenor, we get to the baritone, Alfredo's father, Giorgio Germont. He was played by someone whose name I've never seen. It's something like Tassis Christoyanis. It looks like it's a Greek name. He was kind of disappointing, because after the other two, I think it would be hard to find somebody of equal quality and not break the bank. There are many terrific baritones who could have sung this role better, who are also not so well known. In the orchestra pit is somebody whose name I don't know. His name is Mark Elder. I thought he was very good, and I'm going to go into a few specifics. The director was someone whose name is Tom Cairns. I don't know him either. And the set designer was Hildegard Beckler. I totally enjoyed this production. Why? Because I wasn't obsessed with it, that it was bad or good. It just was. The costumes were delightful, and the scenery was appropriate. It just added in the beginning of the opera to the festive feeling. In the second act, Violetta's home without too much going on. And in the third act, it was great. She didn't lie on the bed in her ruffled gown and die. One of the more interesting things that happened in this opera, I've never seen it or heard it done before, but maybe it's done all the time now, is that usually when Violetta reads the letter from Giorgio Germont, she reads it. It's usually it's a big moment in the opera. And in this case, you hear the voice of Giorgio Germont reading the letter, kind of piped in to the theater. Then, after she reads the letter, she sings her great aria, Addio del Passato. I almost said Addio bel Passato, who is a very famous uploader on YouTube, with whom I actually have had correspondence and Skypes and met in person. So I had to be careful not to say his name and say the name of the aria. It was done at a very quick pace, which I kind of liked and didn't like at the same time. But here were some of the surprising things in the opera. I know this opera so well, and like many young sopranos, whether your voice is suited for it or not, it's hard to imagine someone who doesn't have the high notes not opening up the score of La Traviata, as I did. And I've sung through all of her notes. And so I know what she's going to sing or what she's supposed to sing. And the interesting thing was that where she took the breaths or where she didn't take the breaths were quite surprising to me. Maybe everybody's doing it this way these days. I have no idea. But it was nice to be pleasantly surprised by these things. So this and Orfeo so far have been the highlights of my summer for seeing the live stream. There were, in the other operas that I've seen, there were wonderful things in them, But overall, I just completely enjoyed this. I thought this is how opera should be. It's how the staging should be. It's how the direction should be. Oh, and I want to say something about how the actors moved on stage. While the set seemed to be a little bit bare, the singers made up for the lack of ornate scenery with their gesticulations and the way they interacted with each other. All around terrific. Brava, Miss Gemadieva, and bravo, Mr. Fabiano. I hope to hear from both of you very soon. Bye, everyone.